It's not showing.
We are live. This video is live now. Waiting on it.
Oops, let me turn my volume down. Sorry. Whew.
All right, we are live. Hi, guys. Come on in the
Hey.
room. Come on in. Coming in. Come on in. I don't know what's happening. It says this video is live now. Oh, there it is.
It's not showing.
Hey, Jasmine. Please invite your friends, tag them in this, share this video. We're going to be talking about the superpowers because we always want to have a positive spin on anything that we talk about. So please um, go ahead and get your friends on, your family members on, share this, text the people, let them know to come on in. Come on in the room, come in the room, come in the room. We have a dynamic topic to share with you guys, as always. Are you able to share it?
It won't let me, the whole watch party thing. I don't know why am I not allowed to do that anymore. It used to be just a watch party. I just did the copy link and write a post.
Oh, okay. We're going to let a few more people get in here. See, we have 4 people viewing so far.
Hello.
Anybody that you guys know who might want this information, who might need this information, who might benefit from this information, please go ahead and text them, share this with them, invite them on so that they will be able to get this information from us today.
Hey, Jasmine Smith.
You're in? Okay, cool. Good. You're able to see the comments. Great. She says hi. Okay. Hop on, hop on, hop on. We are live, people. We are live. Let's give people a few more minutes to try to get in here with us. If you know of a teacher, a parent, anybody working with children, anybody needing this information, anybody that has children, please have them to hop on to get this information from us. Yes, I do realize that, Monique.
What?
She just sent me a message. You guys, I am reminding people that we are on, and so you guys can do the same. Texting people, reminding them that we're on. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. I was sending out my text message, doing my due diligence, reminding people. I hear echo. Do you hear echo?
I don't.
Okay. Oh, I know why I got an echo. All right.
Can you hear that banging?
Right now?
No, it just stopped.
Okay.
At the sighting people.
Okay. I am Michelle Bird at Heads Up Mental Clarity. And my lovely special co-host, my friend Stephanie McCain, we're going to be talking about the superpowers of ADHD. You know, anytime we hear anything about attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and one person that talked about it said it this way: attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, because there's always this negative connotation that doesn't have to be with this particular disorder. So we're going to be talking about it and hopefully shed some light on the positive things that and the positive attributes from people that have this diagnosis. I hesitate with the diagnosis myself because, yeah, because so many children are diagnosed with ADHD or ADD, and other things are not taken into consideration. So I do have a problem with the diagnoses. Kids have trauma, we have trauma, and rather than that be the thing that is investigated and worked through and worked with the child, the diagnosis is automatically, in a lot of cases, ADHD or ADD. Okay. So we're going to start off with, I have written down here a definition of what ADHD is. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, a mental health disorder that can cause above normal levels of hyperactivity and impulsivity disorders. That's simple in a nutshell. It's a lot more than that. There's a lot of other traits. There's symptoms. And so I'm going to give you some of the symptoms. Both children and adults can have ADHD, because when you're a child with ADHD, you do not necessarily grow out of that.
Right.
You still carry those symptoms. You just kind of learn how to deal with them if you know that you have this disorder. So some of the symptoms, Steph, do you want to talk a little bit, say anything about the definition that I gave?
No, it's spot on. It's very limited, but it was spot on.
Yeah. So let me talk about some of the symptoms. So, and I know this off the top of my head. I've been studying this since my child was like 2 years old. But I'm going to, for the sake of memory, I'm going to read it. So there's short attention span. As I said before, hyperactivity, impulsivity, fidgeting, disorganized, poor time management, mood swings or temperament, forgetfulness, trouble multitasking, inability to control anger, procrastination, and distractibility, to name some, right? And Stephanie does a really good job at talking about the brain and the prefrontal cortex. And what we do know about this disorder is that in the prefrontal cortex is unregulated. So the attention, behavior, judgment, and emotional responses easily distracted. And so, Steph, can you talk a little bit more about coming from that perspective?
So yeah, so I too have a son, and probably myself as well. But I know for sure that my son, I have a son that was diagnosed with attention deficit disorder. But I was not satisfied with just filling out a sheet and handing it out to teachers and giving their feedback. I had my son tested. We did neurofeedback testing for my son, and I had them do it twice. Just because the first time I was like, okay, yeah. And then the second time I just wanted to get that information. And so, yes, it is true. My son also had severe allergies, which are things that as you investigate attention deficit disorder, which also affects the nervous system as well. And so, in my humble opinion, but there's so many studies. Now, I'm not even going to say in my humble opinion. There are studies now. There weren't these studies before, but there are studies that show that it is the nervous system and it's a neurobiological. It shouldn't really be a mental health challenge. Right. It's more so a medical challenge, and it's the nervous system and the neural feedback is one of the ways that you can help with attention deficit disorder. Is if you can get your child or person involved in neurofeedback training, meditation, brain
Mhm.
probes, things of that nature to help to regulate the brain. But it's a function of the brain more than likely that has stemmed from some form of trauma, even if it's just coming through the birth canal trauma, that it has stemmed from some type of traumatic impact where the person with attention deficit is like, I'm not I don't I'm not paying attention here. I'm deciding not to be here. And it's cool because they're there, but they're everywhere. And that's
Right.
the superpower, is that they can be here and there all at the same time. And the
Mhm.
reason I said, oh, maybe I had it too, is because I was able to do schoolwork. I know it's trauma. To do schoolwork and then be able to hear all these different conversations that were going on around me,
Mhm.
and be so tuned in. And remember growing up and my grandmother be like, stop staring. And I would be like, I'm really listening
Right.
to what's happening, And so, yeah. So some of the ways to com to I don't want to say combat, but omega-3s, green diets. My son is a green food eating person, and we watched him all his years. He'll be 30 this year. Watch him go from when he partaked in omega-3s, green foods, behavioral therapy, memory, fatty acids. We had remember we was giving our kids that Swedish sweetened
Mhm.
omega-3 oils and all those
Yes.
things. They just like magic. But for some reason, it's in the DSM, but it's really a medical condition because
Yeah, because anytime you can change a diet, right, to change some right, it's so I just think that sometimes diagnoses and things are given, it gives an explanation for something that's happening or behavior, but it also, to me, kind of allow people to have to deal with children to kinda opt out, like, right? I mean, it's like, "Oh, so he has ADHD." Like, no, it's work. You gotta do work. You gotta do something different than what you're
right,
accustomed to doing, and that
yeah,
might mean, in something that your schooling, maybe as a teacher or whatever, did not, necessarily teach you, and it's okay, and people don't wanna necessarily admit that, or it is extra work, or they don't wanna do something different, but the reality is that a lot of this can be worked with through diet and exercise like any other medical condition,
hmm hmm
than any other medical condition. But, I don't know. I won't
Yeah,
say
and it is a superpower. I mean, and there are so many studies that show that people that are diagnosed with this attention deficit disorder are extremely creative people. And so any parents here that they're having that experience with their children, one of the things that I can tell you for absolute sure, if you get that child in music, dance, art, move
Mm,
their body around, those children thrive in that environment. They thrive in a percussionary environment where they're doing
yes.
beats because they can hear the beats between the beats. They have
Yes,
that they can hear the notes between the notes.
yes.
That's one of the beautiful things about that attention deficit disorder, is that is it is a definitely a right brain, but also a left brain, because my son is
Mhm.
super intelligent. Like,
Yes.
oh my God.
I
Um,
have not met a child who's not,
mm-mm. Yeah,
you
very
know?
intelligent people, because they just their brains are special.
They're wired
As long,
different.
yeah, as long as we don't condemn and criticize, you definitely cannot be a traditional parent or a traditional teacher when having those students in your home or in your classroom, because um, they require you to remain curious.
They are thinkers.
Yeah.
So when we talk about daydream, I can think of some things now that I can counter some complaints with. Oh, like just daydream all the time. Oh, what do you mean? He thinks all the time?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know back then for that to be my response. "Oh, what do you mean? He thinks all that?" Because they think all the time, and then they are blessed to be able to have multiple thoughts and ideas at the same time. I watched a video, of a guy who's like, "I'm in the boardroom," and then all of a sudden, all these other ideas just start popping up all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And, the the negative could be trying to grab a hold of these thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
and focusing on what you're supposed to be focusing on at the same time, at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly, if we let our children know that this is not necessarily a negative, like this can be a superpower.
It
Let's
is.
help rein in these thoughts, but that's not what happens. What happens
Mm-hmm.
is you never pay attention. You need to learn how to pay attention, or you're not doing
Relate.
well in school, you don't pay attention, rather than try to funnel that into something positive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
advocacy advocacy is so important if you are a parent of a child that has been diagnosed with attention deficit disorder. If you're going to give medicine, that's on you. And but don't just give it and then leave it. Like advocate for that child.
right.
um you have to educate yourself on what that means. What does that mean for you to have attention deficit disorder, and advocating, because a child with attention deficit gets bored very, very easy. um,
Yes. Mhm.
they do better in a Montessori type learning environment, an environment that allows them to um, be creative in their learning style. You'll hear teachers say things like they're very insightful. They're very
Yes.
insightful because they are insightful, and they'll take a conversation or a storyline down a whole nother rabbit hole, and
Yeah.
they'll ask, they're allowed to, they will ask questions about it, or they'll give another insight about it that will just blow your mind. They're just
Yeah.
very extremely
I remember
intelligent.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. Hi, Chris. Hi, Mom. I remember, Chris said that is true. I remember, just like question after question. But why? And then you answer the question.
Mhm,
But then why is that? And that's,
mhm,
very insightful, very curious, trying to dig and figure out, like, and that's not always looked upon in a positive light when you're in the classroom, right?
mhm,
And
mhm,
it's for some parents who are working hard, or maybe a single parent or what have you.
mhm.
It takes some, I want to say special patience, but it doesn't. It just takes patience, period.
It takes
But you
patience, and
like,
it takes allowing,
mhm,
allowing this other human being, this other soul, to show you who and what they are. Um,
yeah,
I homeschool mines, and Michelle did too. And we would go for walks in Waterfall Glen, and
yeah,
it's such a peaceful place to walk. But this little person would find caterpillars. Do you know? Like caterpillars down in this inside, like not on the path, but
right,
over here, there's a caterpillar. Like it's like now I would have been walking this path by myself and never seen that little fuzzy thing. And yet he can see the caterpillar, and he can see the squirrels, and he can see all the little things that he just pays attention to things. So our walks were never boring. They were never
right,
quiet because
right.
he sees the world in 5D, and
Yes.
he feels the world in 5D.
Could you imagine if that was fostered in every single child? If the superpowers were fostered. Now it has to be taught, because people don't realize what the
Mhm,
superpowers are. They're not taught how to handle and how to deal with that.
mhm,
So I understand that. But just
mhm,
imagine if these superpowers were fostered, um, and they were groomed or whatever, what
mhm,
a wonderful place it would be. Unfortunately, school is not always a great place for them to be
No,
because
because I
it's so restrictive and,
yes,
and where
I
they do thrive with some structure, structure is
mhm,
very different than restrictive and
yes,
restriction. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and structure has to be something that they coordinate. It has to make
Mhm.
for them. That, and then
Yes.
they'll apply it. It just needs to make sense for them. And then don't ask them to be consistent with it. Just have it in
Right.
place. Just
Right.
have it there. Everything has a house, but they may not put it in their house until Sunday. So
Right.
that's just the way that
I
that is.
remember, when we first started homeschooling, and I just believe God will give you what you need when you need
Mhm,
it. And so I remember starting homeschooling for my children, and I remember thinking, okay, this has to be just as much as his idea as it is my idea. And so we sat down together in the fourth grade and made a schedule, fourth, fifth grade,
mhm,
and made a schedule. Okay, so let's so do you want to school in the second half of the day, or do you want to school in the first half of the day? Or do you
mhm,
want to get up, do blah blah blah, and then school and then go like in the middle of the day? And he's like, no, 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 I want to do the first part of the day because then I could just go ahead and get my work done and I'll be done. This like, do you want to do math first or should we do, just kind of, and like
mhm,
you said, involving them, allowing things to be their idea, and their ownership because it's their
mhm,
learning. It's
mhm,
their brain
mhm,
is their learning. And so
mhm.
I just remember doing that, only God, because I'm not special in that. I didn't know half of what I know now.
Right.
And it was just
Yeah.
something in me to say, well, you're going to be homeschooling, involve the kids
Mhm,
and what is
mhm,
going to be their education. And
mhm.
I know this sounds very non-traditional to some people because you just lay it out there and kids are supposed to do it, but I just didn't believe that. I believed in including them in things that were going to happen, even if we had to do. And this doesn't have anything to do with this topic, but even if we had to do things like reinforcement or discipline, they were involved in it. They
Mhm,
were involved in
mhm,
it. I gave them a
mhm,
voice in it. Yeah. Um, So some of the superpowers, Steph already started talking about them, but some of the things that I wrote down was one is like hyper focus, where we talk about like the. So I found this chart that talks about um, superpower on one side and kryptonite on the other side. And I'm not going to
mm,
focus on the kryptonite because it's negative, but
mhm,
I'm going to focus on it in a positive light where it's always said that children, like, oh my God, they can't focus. And it's true that they can't focus. They don't always focus on what you want them to focus on, but they're focused.
They are
They are
focused.
absolutely focused. I just remember, even with my grandson, and you're talking to him. And when I first noticed it, I gave it a countdown. So when I first noticed that he would wander off, I gave it a countdown. So I'll be talking to him, and all of a sudden it's like I could see it coming. And so I'd say 5, 4, 3, 2. By the time I got to 1, he was already on the next thing. I saw, like, it's almost like I could see it in his eyes. Like I would be talking, and all of a sudden it would be like this, and then he's off too. So one might say, oh, well, he wasn't focused. Yes, he was. He was very focused on what had his attention, and it wasn't me. Right.
Mhm,
So when we talk
mhm,
about they can't focus or the lack of focus, perhaps was the lack of focus of what's at hand, but they're very
mhm,
hyper focused. You
mhm,
give them if they're focused on something, I've had people say, well, how can they play the video game? You can sit and play the video game all these hours, then you could do da 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 da. A lot of the things that we want them to be focused in bores them.
well, and then the eye coordination is a EMDR. It's a process. It's an eye coordination,
Mhm.
and it's a rhythmic coordination that goes in the retina. So video games make sense if you understand that attention deficit is a neurobiological disorder. I'm saying that, me. But it is from the brain. So it makes sense that video games and fast movement and action and colors and flashing are something that will grab the attention of someone that has attention deficit. Actually, if you take a person, a grown up or a child, my son was tested by a neurologist, and the test is a test that he sits in front of a screen and he keeps up with the dots that pass and the different things that pass. That's the test. That's the official test for attention deficit, not having teachers sign papers, but actually going to a
Right.
scientist or a psychologist and being tested. It's a visual, it's almost like an EMDR, neural feedback type testing that that the body, the hand-eye coordination tells you.
Right.
So, and it has different things on the screen. So how does that child pay attention to all the things that are going on? So a video game is actually one of the ways that you know that maybe somebody might have attention deficit, because they can focus on that. And then the things that are analytic, like writing, their handwriting sucks. And just writing things that are really what is the tedious, they may not pay
Right.
attention to. It's not that important. But if you ask them to speak something, they can tell you. Or if you ask them to
Right.
memorize something that's important to them, they'll memorize
Right.
it for
Very.
you.
And one of the symptoms is forgetfulness. It's really kind of weird how there's an issue with forgetfulness. However, they can remember. They have impeccable memories in
Mm-hmm.
other areas. So,
Mm-hmm. The things that
go
they
ahead.
remember are the things that they feel. So when
Yes.
they have a feeling about it and they're very adamant about it, and it's something that it resonates with them, they remember it. But
Hmm.
something about like where I put my keys, if that doesn't have a feeling for it, now the loss of losing your keys, that becomes a feeling
Right.
now, impact, and it'll make them want to hold on to their keys and not lose their keys. But they have to have a visceral feeling about something, and they connect that
Right.
experience with what is important to them.
Right. Right. Another superpower is that they're passionate. What they're all in. If it's a thing that they're working on, if it's like they have this tunnel vision, right?
Mhm.
In that thing. So they're very passionate about whatever they're passionate about. Very
Mhm.
passionate about that. Um, they have a sense of the emotional state for others. So they're emotionally aware. And
Very.
I want to even say hypersensitive to other people and their feelings.
Yeah.
They're empathic,
Very. Hmm.
very empathic. What that means is that they empathize. Now, how that can be a challenge for them is not necessarily in the classroom or anything like that, but sometimes it gets to be a bit much when you're feeling everything somebody else feels. But
It's overstimulating. Mhm. Mhm.
they literally can feel what the other person feels. Yeah.
Mhm.
So if that person is down and depressed, it could be that. If that person is happy, so they have this sense of emotional state of others. Um,
Mhm.
they are innovators. They think outside the box.
Yes,
They
they
think
do.
outside the box. I used to call it going against the grain. But that's it, a lot of times when we have these diagnoses and we describe them, it comes with this negative connotation. But no, it's a superpower. Like they're
Mhm.
innovators. They can make
Mhm.
anything out of anything. They have that creative side of them. So they are innovators. Or in class, it might be, oh, they don't follow directions, but they think outside of the box.
Yeah. 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 And given the space, and they're just, it's amazing. That's, yeah,
They
amazing.
are very amazing, very much so.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, so they think outside the box. They're innovators. Justice is important to them. It's
Mhm. Fair.
beyond the whole this not fair. This is not. It's beyond that. It's beyond this is not fair. Like it's
Mhm.
not justice. Like they believe in justice for themselves and
Mhm.
justice for others. So, you
Mhm.
know, what can that can manifest itself or appear to be arguing. No,
Mhm.
I'm just trying to get my point across. I'm just trying to get you to understand what I'm saying. In my mind, you don't understand what I'm saying. When that thing don't seem fair, or you're misunderstanding, and they want you so very much to understand where they're coming from. And it's not necessarily that I'm arguing. I just need you to understand my point of view. And whether
Yeah.
it's for me or for the next person,
Right.
therefore justice is important to them.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that goes
And
with their empathetic and tendencies to be empathetic. So that makes perfect sense. And they're very passionate about what they're passionate about.
right. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. The motivation is contagious. Like when they're enthusiastic about something, they can hype up everybody about it. They're hyping up
Yeah.
everybody about it. Their motivation isn't contagious. So they're very enthusiastic and can be and they're very social.
Mhm.
Very social. Yeah. Probably could, if they're enthusiastic about the little ink thing in the pen, they probably could sell it to anybody. They're very enthusiastic about what they believe in or what they're passionate about. And so that is contagious, you know. Which just kind of goes to show, even just in us as a human beings, you know, if you are all upbeat, then the people around you are going to be upbeat, right?
Yes.
But they just have this um, natural joy and enthusiasm about things that they care about, and they kind of can draw people. And it's like, you know, I had someone to say, oh, you either love them or you hate them. That was a
Mm.
crazy thing to say, but the you love him is that he'll make you love him and anything that he cares about.
Mhm.
So that
Mhm.
motivation, that enthusiasm is definitely
It's
contagious.
definitely passionate. Oh my gosh. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. We talked about being highly creative. You know, the kryptonite part of that could be impulsivity. Um, they take risks. And I think about some of these superpowers in adults. So when you have somebody that is highly creative, passionate, will take a risk, I think about, and I don't know that these people have ADHD or not, but I think about the personality of some of the people that are wealthy,
Mhm.
some of the people that stepped out there and failed over and over again, and it didn't matter. They did it again because they
Mhm.
didn't mind taking the risk to step out
Mhm.
there. I think
Mhm.
about some of the videos, because I did watch some YouTube videos with people who adults who have ADHD, leaders, CEOs who have ADHD, and just thinking about like their creativity, the willingness to take risks. If you're willing to take risk, the outcome, the what comes back to you is going to be greater, as opposed
Yeah.
to someone who is afraid to take risks. So you kind of end up in a space that that's not necessarily where you want to be, because you're afraid to take the risks.
Right.
If the risk pays off, then you're a little bit further than what you wanted to be in life, you know? And so they take risks. These will be the people that will take risk in the financial market because, okay, if I fail, I will take the next risk. So they do take
Exactly.
risk. Yeah. Go ahead, Steph. You were going to say something.
I do not remember what I was going to say. Um, I think I had what I wanted to say was I was talking about the how they pay attention when it looks as if they're not paying attention, they're always paying
Oh, yeah.
attention.
Mhm.
They're always paying attention. When it seems like they're not paying attention, it's probably when they're the most paying attention. Um,
Mhm.
I was giving you an example. my 30-year-old when he was before kindergarten or whatever. We were reading Harry Potter. My kids love Harry Potter. And so we would do the Harry Potter series and read them. And so I would be on the bed reading, and he would be doing something to my hair, braiding it, whatever. And my husband would say, you need to pay attention. Your mother's taking the time to read this. The other two would be laying on the other beds, and, we'd just be in the room. And they would be listening, but that one would be doing something to my hair, whatever. And so one day he came in there and made that comment. And I said, I think he's paying attention. And he was like, I am paying attention. And then he read off to me the whole Harry Potter chapter that I had read. He retold his dad the whole story that I had just read. And so he was like, oh, okay. But he was not like enthralled in the story like his brothers were. He was just
Right.
doing whatever he was doing. But he knew the detail of the story because he probably painted a picture in his mind and
Yes.
created an entire movie as I was reading it. And he just gave us back the story. And it was just so phenomenal. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was so that, and he is an adult male today, and he carries on the same way. You think he's not paying attention. He's doing 3 or 4 different things, but he's like, I got you, Ma. He's like, and he can tell me exactly what I asked him about,
Right.
so when they're not
Yeah.
paying attention, they are paying attention.
Right.
And
And that's
so,
just kind of indicative to the ideas that we have of the way something should be.
yes,
You
the
should be
expectation.
sitting with your hands folded in your lap and looking at me. That says
Mm-hmm,
you're paying attention.
mm-hmm,
And if you're
mm-hmm.
not, that says that you're not paying attention. And that example is just proven that that's not necessarily true.
It's not true.
It's not
It's
true.
not true at all. It's not true. And if we embrace that, I think if anybody walked away with anything tonight, um, to understand that our responsibility is to embrace people where they are, as opposed
Yes.
to judging where they are, because the judgment is only based on your expectation. And the magical question is, where'd you get that from?
Right. Right.
Where did
Who
your
told you that?
expectation come from? Who told you that that was right and that was okay, and that your way of
Mhm.
doing things is gospel? Um, and the more we can address that, the more we can address the human experience from that seat, it just makes
Mhm.
life so, my favorite word is so juicy, and it's so colorful, and so
Mhm.
adventurous. And with
Yeah.
these type of people, um, the more they have that space, the more they are in that community of those type of people who allow them to be who they are and embraces and says, hey, I get that, I understand that. I wish that my child that is challenged with, I don't want to call it a challenge, that possesses this superpower, I wish that he could
Right.
be a therapist, but he don't want to do school. I'm like, go to be a life coach or something, because he's so
Yes.
insightful, and he's super empathetic, and he has the ability to read people. Oh, it's amazing
Yes.
to me.
I know
But
a
he's
therapist and a psychiatrist who has the diagnosis, and you are so right about it.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. Yeah, he's super
Mhm.
insightful. I was like, we would make a dynamic team. We could be back to back. He's like, Mom, I'm not going to school for that. And I know, because that's not his thing, but he's very insightful, very intuitive, very it's a gift to behold. That's what I say today. As a mom at the time, I was just like, whoa, we got to get this kid through school.
Right.
but
Right.
uh
Yeah,
but
because
he
traditional school wasn't gonna change to meet the need of the child.
mm-mm,
It's gonna try to
mm-mm.
change the child, and so then we need to medicate because I need you sitting in this chair with your hands folded looking up at me and paying
Right.
attention. And so,
Yeah.
you know oh, well, they don't pay attention, they don't focus, and that's the reason why he misses information, where it's not because they're not necessarily paying attention because they're not looking at you, but they miss the information when the brain starts to wander off and
Mhm.
daydream. That's when they miss the information.
Mhm.
But not because they're busy in their hands or they're doing this over here. They still hear you. They're still paying attention.
Mhm.
That's not the part when they miss out on what you were saying, the math problem and the step of that. That's not when they miss out on it. They miss out on it when they start focusing on what's outside and the birds and all these thoughts that I got in my mind.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
when. And there's a simple, when I was in education, um, we talked about some simple things that you can kind of, and I did. And as a counselor, I would tell the teachers, you don't have to get bent all out of shape. You just simply walk by and you could tap the desk. And the
Mhm.
whole world doesn't have to know, but the child knows why you tapping the desk, just real
Mhm.
lightly. And that'll bring them right on back or whatever.
Or and you can
Anyway,
allow the child to tap a pencil while during the
yes,
lecture, or tap their
yes,
leg during a lecture, which
yes,
validates that it's a neurobiological disorder. So if
yes,
you allow that child to tap, to be in motion, to be in movement, if you allow them to be in movement, they're listening, they get it. They will
they're
stay
get
right
it,
with
they're
you as
listening.
long as they can be in present with the beat that is going on in their minds, because there is
Yes,
music constantly playing in the
in their
mind
mind.
of ADHD person.
Absolutely.
There's always a song,
Absolutely.
there's always a sound that's constantly in motion. Always.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do,
Oh.
e-learning part of the week with my grandson, who has ADHD and dyslexia, and, the he listening to math e-learning is not the easiest thing in the world for anybody, the kid, the teacher, the parents, it's not. But when I tell you that I am happy and blessed to have the opportunity to have him e-learning, it is amazing because the way he sings while he's on mute, while listening to her give a new concept, he's just not going to be able to do when he gets in school.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be understood, but he gets it. He
Mhm.
gets it. Being able to fumble around with this pencil,
Yep.
even in e-learning, the teacher's like, "Well, you got something in your hand," and so I don't say
Yeah.
you need to take it out your hand to pay attention. I don't say that. I say, "Don't do it up here, honey. Do it down here,"
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
he concentrates that way.
Mhm.
But because we want it the way we want it, because it's supposed to be, because somebody, whoever in the heck somebody is, said that's the way it's supposed to be, that's what we do. But he's
Mhm.
paying attention, he's looking, but his hands are moving or
Yeah.
he's tapping, and that's something he's not going to be able to do. I already know we've had issues before. That's something he's not going to be able to do when he's in the classroom. And I get
Mhm.
it, because tapping can be disruptive to the next person who pays attention a different way. But why not find something that helps as
Mm.
opposed to whatever the punitive things that are going on with these children in the classroom. Um,
Right.
and even at home, because we don't understand how to handle this child, right?
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
the other thing is being innovative. They're forward thinking thinkers, like they're always thinking, so they like to improve even other people's ideas. So if they come across an idea, or if you tell them an idea, they're thinking forward on how to improve that, how to enhance that. I want to say
Mhm.
enhance, I don't, but how to enhance that idea, even if it's not their idea. Always,
Yes.
oh, that brain is always going. It can be exhausting too for them. It can be exhausting for them. Um, and we already talked about being hypersensitive to others, hypersensitive to others, hypersensitive to order. Now, that doesn't mean order in the way we know order. That doesn't mean
Right.
they have an order. I was reading an article, and it said about like how they as much as we deem a child with the ADHD as disorganized, it talks about how they have order. They are organized. And one might say,
Yes.
well, they're not. They're very disorganized. The folders falling all over the place, but they are organized in their own way.
They
If you
are.
visit their personal space, it's organized. It may not be what you want it to be, but it's
Right.
organized for
Hmm.
them.
For them.
So, for them, they're meticulous. And I've heard like, well, how could you be meticulous in this area and not in? How could you, have your clothes on the floor, but then you're meticulous
Everywhere.
about your regime about showering, like how you're going to
Mhm.
brush your teeth first, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do it in this order. How could that be? And your clothes are all over the floor. They got
Mhm.
order
But that's it.
where they
But that's
feel like it's necessary,
right. Yeah.
where they
Yeah.
feel like it's necessary.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I
That is
think
the truth. It is so the truth. Like, yes. Hmm.
because I was reading it and I was thinking, well, let me think about that, because that seems like such a contradiction, but it's not. They have order where they feel like order is necessary. And if you
Hmm.
help them organize their folder and their papers, once they have an order to it and it makes sense to them, they will
Like, it
keep the
has
order.
to be something.
But it has
Hmm.
to make sense to them. It's
Hmm.
not going to be ordered the way the teacher or the parent says it should be ordered. It has to make sense to them. And then they'll keep it that way. Yeah. So, just talking from what we have studied, um, us observing our own children and my
Yes.
grandchild, and now adults, because I can see it when I look at adults and myself.
Yes.
Um, I can see it in myself, and um, we just wanted to kind of bring this a different light. And so we bring these superpowers to you if you are dealing with children, so that you can point out these superpowers to the child. It's
Yes.
important for them to
Please.
know that
It's
they're not a
so
bother. It's
yeah,
important for them
because
to know
that's
that
the
they're not
first thing
stupid.
that they get, because when they're little bitties, they're just antsy. They can't sit still. When you take them to the doctor's office, that's the kid that's just got to be running around. Do, 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 do. That's just
Mhm.
and they don't want to be in the car seat. That is just too much. They scream the whole time. They want to be free. That's that that's that being, that's that soul that is probably in the human
Mhm.
experience diagnosed with attention deficit disorder, but that's that kid, and that's the one,
Right.
he or she is looking at the world from such a from a I say from the 5D dimension. They see the world
Yes.
from, oh my goodness, all sides, and they see people that way too.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
they can be trusted when it comes to like characters, like who's
Mhm.
good, who's bad, they, you can pretty much trust their insight on
Yes.
what you get from people,
Mhm.
about people, and yeah, very
And
insightful
children can read people anyway.
anyway. Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But these children are very, very insightful when it
Hmm.
comes to things, their environment, people. They are, and this information is so that you can teach them the positive, you
Yeah.
know, um, rather than, I'm in a group and we have these books, and it's about superpowers, and it's about different personalities. And the book has children characters in the book, and it's, like this child that, for instance, talks a lot out of turn, shouldn't talk out of turn. And the children, and then they get a report of, oh, they just talk too much, or they won't stop talking, or he won't stop talking out of turn, or be quieter, close your mouth, instead of having something positive to say to contribute.
Hmm.
Oh,
Hmm.
that sounds really great. Oh my God, I'm sure that we could benefit from that. But could we talk? Let's talk about that at the next
Later.
topic, or let's,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Because you could, rather than raising damaged children, we could be raising lawyers and things like that, and children with hope that they could be these actors and actresses and these musicians and things like that.
Yeah,
But
but
those,
to affirm that there are no mistakes, that we are intrinsically right from the beginning.
yes,
There are no
yes,
mistakes. There are no deficits in a child, except for the ones that we put on them. Like, they're intrinsically perfect.
yes.
They
Disability
are.
gives
And
me,
anybody disagree? I'm like, how can you disagree that a child is not perfect?
right. And the word disability boils my blood. Even when I'm talking to a child in therapy, you have a different ability. There's no
Hmm.
dis about you. Not at
Right.
all. There is no disability. You have a
Hmm.
different ability,
Hmm.
right? Because you can see people with no arms but can feed themselves with their feet. You have a different ability. And I
Hmm.
make sure to stress that when I'm working with children because they come in so damaged because, the teachers have said something and everybody's not being malicious. They
Right.
just don't know. But then
Right.
you have other children and their peers, and just for on top of the fact that internally they know that they're different, if you will, or they're not like this person. You have all these other environmental and people saying different things to them. So I want to uplift. No, you don't have a disorder. You have a different
Hmm.
ability.
Hmm.
You don't have the deficit.
I know.
Like,
What is that? It's
what is
just.
that? Yeah.
Hmm.
So it just, yeah, I could go on and on and on. I could get on my soapbox about those types of things
And
with children. It's just that, you learn differently. Your brain is wired a little bit differently, and that's okay. What if we were in a world?
a lot of differently. Like, Albert Einstein, um,
Yes.
um, um, Mozart. All those are
Yeah.
the brains of the attention deficit brain. I'm venture to say there's a couple of presidents too,
Yes.
with the difference in their ability to do things. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah,
You think
I
about
think.
people like, and I don't know that he has ADHD or anything, but Steve Jobs and people like that.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
It's so much greatness in these kids, but it's got to
Mm-hmm.
be fostered by the adults.
It
And in
has to
order for
be.
you to do that, you have to educate yourself.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
would encourage you, especially if you're dealing with children with ADHD or ADD or any other thing, that find the superpower, look it up, research it. There's like when Steph and I started this journey, the
Yeah.
information that is available today was not available. Oh my God.
Not
Oh, was not
not
available back then. Not at
not available.
all.
Mm-mm.
Not
Mm-mm.
at all. One
Like a
guy talks about on a YouTube video, he talks about his inattention, and he makes a joke about it. He's like, I can be looking at you with one eye, and this other eye is always in the peripheral view all the
all the
time,
time. It's true. And
which
that's
is
the way
how a
it is.
child, you can get the report that he's always in other people's business. Well, he can pay attention to you and all of them all around him. He hears it all.
I think
He
of
don't
all
want
the spankings. My sister is on here. I think of all the spankings I got because I wasn't paying attention in church when I got home. I wasn't paying attention. And then I ended up going to school in a a theologian school because I was paying attention and the God's word meant a whole lot to me. But
yes.
I got in trouble because I wasn't sitting still in church. I would make babies with my ponchos. I would just be busy, busy, busy,
Yeah.
busy, busy, busy. And
Yeah.
I would got pinched.
And the reality is, you know what? The reality is that some adults have some anxiety that they need to have under check. Because that's all it is. Because I have an example right now today. We're in church, and that little grandson is, and I'm just like, ooh, because I know what it is, right? But I have anxiety. I'm real with mine. I have anxiety, and so that moving and and but I know to give them something. And so Monique will come and then she'll sit with us, and because she knows, and then she'll give him something, and he'll draw a little bit. But if you don't give him something to do with his hands, he's like
Right.
all over, you know. And so I share this to share, and it is my anxiety that needs him to be still,
Yes.
because he's not
Yes.
bothering anybody.
Yes.
He's not bothering the preacher. He's still preaching. Song
Exactly.
leader still singing. The lady down the road still praying, whatever, praising.
Mhm.
It is
Mhm.
my anxiety that needs him to be still. And so I'm always going to use me as an example. All that is that the adult has anxiety about it and didn't know what to do with it. Just think about the limited information that we had. They had
Yeah.
absolutely none
Yeah.
when we were
None.
coming up. No
None.
information out there about this. I
None.
just
None.
remember, I can explain it now as an adult. We have a child that won't stop talking or that needs to say something. It is like, so every report card, I don't think there was ever a year in school that I did not get on my report card, if I got all A's or whatever I got, that I talked too much,
Me
that I
too.
couldn't stop talking, that I talked too much. I always got in trouble for it. So my mom is watching, and what I want her to know is like, I would be in school and this thing would be burning me up inside. And it was like I was about to explode. Until finally, I'm like, I'm just gonna get in trouble because I'm getting ready to say this. If it came to my mind, I needed it to come out my mouth. I don't
Mhm.
care. We need to be quiet in line in the hallway. I was going to burst if it didn't come out.
Mm.
I don't care that the teacher is on the board. I wasn't trying to disrespect her. That's the reason why I tried to sneak and say it, and then I always got caught. But it
Mhm.
was like,
Mhm.
but it was
Mhm.
like this burning fire inside of me that I could not hold it. It has to come out now. That's how I felt. As an adult, I can describe that now. That's how I felt as a child when I had something to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that that was a thing for me on so many levels because my mother would tell stories all day long about me always into something, always saying something, always singing, always a song. I could find a song for any conversation. And yeah, but who knew? Who knew it was attention deficit? We
Yeah.
managed, you know.
I'm
Uh,
laughing now because even as an adult, if my kids say something, there's a song that'll pop to my head and they be like, "What?"
mhm.
Yeah. That cracks me up because I didn't even contribute that to this. It's just that
Oh
they can say something and the title of a song will pop up to
yes,
that.
yes,
And I'll do that
yes.
periodically. But um yeah. So this was good. I'm glad we were able to share this information with you guys. Again, the whole purpose is for you to be able to go and do more research, find the superpowers, whether the child has ADHD or anything or nothing at all, but just
Right.
find your child's superpower and focus
Yes.
on those and teach them how to focus on those, because the world beats them up and says that they should be a certain way. And so at least at home, they can be who they are and help them to enhance their superpowers so that when they go
Yeah.
to the schools, I wish that there's a program out there that we have out there, Eric Thomas has out there, but I wish that this program could reach every school at the same time. And it just really teaches teachers how to teach students based on their superpower.
Hmm.
It's needed all over the
That's
United States.
awesome.
It
Wow.
is. And unfortunately, it's only going to touch the small corners of the world at a time because it's not a
Right.
mass thing. I wish it was, but it really is just teaching teachers how to teach children based on their superpower. So if that is they talk a lot, or if that's the one that's always buttoning somebody else's business or whatever, how to hone that superpower in so that
Mm-hmm.
you can get the best education, the best knowledge,
From
in and out of them.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
And that they have some form of differentiation style of teaching is called differentiation teaching. And if you think that your child is gifted with attention deficit, then when you go to speak to the educators, ask them if they had training in differentiation, so that they know that they can teach to the different learning styles of each child, or that,
Yes.
and even if you spark it in their mind, then they can go to their superiors and get the training, because
Right.
it's a thing.
Right.
It,
It is a
it does.
thing. And a lot of schools say that they have it.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Right.
a
That's
lot of
why I'm
I'll
saying,
put it right
yeah,
there. A lot of schools
like,
say
yeah.
that they have it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not they utilize it, and I get it because I've been in the classroom too.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. It's not the easiest thing, but it's certainly doable.
It is
Sometimes maybe there's more training, but there's a lot of other things that come into play too, like having too many
element.
children in
Yeah.
your classroom to begin with, and having to have
Right.
these reports done as opposed to really teaching your student. It's a lot of things come into play,
Yeah.
right?
And not
Yeah.
building a consistent rapport with the attention deficit student. Having a teacher 2 or 3 years in a row is like the best thing that they could ever do for
Absolutely.
that student. That changing that teacher every year and all that in the beginning, I'm saying 0 to 5th grade, if that
Right.
student can have at least 2 teachers and that's it, those first 5 formative years, is just, it's a world of difference in how they
Yeah.
do middle school and high school. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that because our kids had homeschool those first four, that middle
Right.
school and high, well, I did middle school all the way through to 11th grade, but it just
Mhm.
makes a difference in that process, to have that same teacher, that same, because that you're learning that style, you're learning who that person is, little
Right.
Johnny. But you're learning who little Johnny is, and that creates a sense of security for little Johnny too. But I think some schools have changed over into that, where the teacher teaches for
Mhm.
two
Mhm.
consecutive years or 3 consecutive years, and then they switch
Right.
them over, because it is powerful. And I mean, I
It
don't have no
is.
education degree, but I raise my kids and I see the beauty and the benefit of it. And
Yeah.
so that's that's my little two
Yeah.
cents.
Yeah, that is, and the other thing is that because one year they can have a really fabulous teacher who understands it and
Yes.
knows how to
Oh my
work with it, and
goodness.
the next year they could have somebody that totally don't understand it,
Oh
don't
my
get it,
God.
or don't have the
And
patience for it.
all that work is that's the most devastating. So my heart goes out to all the parents who have been doing this roller coaster ride, but know that your child, your seed is amazing, and just
Yes.
find the amazing and capitalize on the amazingness of that
Yes.
child, student, that human, that person. Um, they
Mhm.
come through you, but they don't belong to you. So find out
Right.
who they are.
Say that
And
again. Woo, take a breath on that one. They come through you, but they don't belong to you. Yes. Yes.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
thank you. Thank you, Steph.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
This subject is near and dear to us. Thank you for all logging
Mhm.
in. Please share this
Please.
video. Um, Go to, put some comments in the comment section. Go to YouTube. We're on YouTube as well. Go ahead and subscribe. Click on the notification bell so you get notifications when we're live. And yeah, let's just get this word out there for people. I am Michelle Bird, your mental health therapist at Heads Up Mental Clarity. And I think everybody on knows how to find me. I guess I'll say that again. So many places. Facebook is Michelle Wallace Bird. Instagram, Mrs. Bird LPC. ChicagoCompassCounseling.com. I work as a private practice um, therapist there. And I think that's it. Yes. And Steph, where can we find you?
Stephanie McCain, marriage and family therapist. S McCain on everything, I think. S McCain on Instagram. Stephanie Stevens McCain on Facebook, and Stephanie McCain on Psychology Today, and Lamplight Counseling Services is where where I do my private practice. And
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can find me on Psychology Today as well, Michelle Bird.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you once
Thank you all.
again, sister
Use
friend. Thank you all.
this.
Take
Be
care.
encouraged. All right.
Yes. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.